All right. Hello. Oh my. Oh my. Look at that. We're here alive after 30 freaking minutes of just starting the stream. Nice. Has anyone else done that before? Who's famous for having a long ass stream intro? Technically I'm not late because I don't have a stream schedule, so I can just show up whenever, right? Isn't that how it works? Isn't that how most streamers do it? Well, most streamers set a schedule. I do not, because this is a flying by the seat of my pants type of thing at the moment, and I think we're doing all right. Anyway, we are live. Everything's good and looking good. No one's here, of course, because we have 22 to 3 followers. But if you're here, follow. Obviously, if you're watching a VOD, follow me right now. Bot follow me on. I don't know if I can advocate that for terms of service, but allegedly, I don't know. Don't do that. I'm joking. But what are we gonna do today? That's really the sad thing is every day I look at the news and it just gets worse. I don't know what's happening in the world, but everything kind of sucks. I found some videos we can watch. We can get started with. I guess we'll start with the Alberta Premier. The Alberta Premier Danielle Smith adds separation question to the October referendum ballot. So basically, she's putting it on the ballot. It's like this is a vote. It's just part of her position, right? Which is weird because it's it's very unpopular, but it's very popular within her party, within conservatives. So that's the only reason why it's like she's doing this, to be like, oh, we are like gonna do that. Maybe. But she has to do it, or else basically her supporters will be like, what the F, But anyway, on Thursday, Premier Danielle Smith added a 10th question to the October 19th ballot, asking voters if the province should remain in Canada or start constitutional steps toward a future binding separation referendum. So this is kind of Trumpian in a way, because this could cause a constitutional crisis in a way. If this does end up happening, like hypothetically, if it keeps going up and up, I don't know, and if it keeps gaining support, it could be bad in the future, but who knows? Smith, her government, a United Conservative Party caucus, all support staying, framing it as a democratic response to a court ruling that blocked a direct independence vote pushed by a citizen petition with over 300,000 signatures, outdone by Pro Unity, One More, with more than 400,000. Polls show strong opposition to separation, with 67% against in a recent survey, though the move has sparked backlash from both the unity advocates like NDP leader Neha Nenshi and separatists demanding her resign. So even the separatists are like, you're not real. You're fake woke. You're fake separatists. Anyway, let's see what she has to say here. Holy fuck.
700,000 Albertans have signed a petition requesting a vote on whether
get a better
or not
audio,
Alberta
Danielle Smith, government of Alberta.
Canada. You are justifiably frustrated and angry with Ottawa. You are proud and loyal Albertans that have watched our province be taken advantage of repeatedly over past decades, and you want it to stop. So do I. In my view, now is not the—
And this is the thing, is like, she doesn't want it to stop, and neither does any one of the politicians. Like, they will, like, all of the Albertan politicians, like the narrative that Alberta's getting ripped off is true, but for all the wrong reasons, right? Like, they're using the truth to lie, basically. And the lie is that Alberta is getting ripped off, or the government's ripping you off, or that taxes are ripping you off, or etc. Like, Alberta's a rich province, carbon tax, worse industry taxes, it's getting ripped off, right? And they're using the truth to lie, because yes, economically the taxes suck and it bears the cost on the consumers, so obviously people are going to be upset. And then the fucking truth is that, you're upset, and the lie is that Ottawa, or whoever the enemy is the lie, because it's not Carney, it's not the Liberals, it's not Ottawa, it's not the government, It's capitalism. It's class structure. It's the class society. It's how we structure society into classes. That is the real issue. Because you are getting ripped off. Every day you go into work and you get paid shit, and someone at the very top collects and sits on all of the value. The value is privately owned in private hands, like oil companies, and the rest of us get absolutely nothing. That's the real problem. It's not what immigrants, Carney, BC, like whatever you want to blame it on. It's capitalism. Sorry, but that's the simple solution. Because why not? If Alberta, like if I was a separationist, why would I not be advocating for nationalizing oil and then collectively sharing the profits, the surplus of that oil? Because everyone's like, Alberta has a surplus. Alberta has a surplus. Okay, well, if we all want to benefit, why not nationalize oil and then spread the wealth collectively amongst all Albertans then? But they will be like, oh my God, that's communism and bad. It has to be held by the billionaire.
Give up hope in our country. Not when we have fought so hard for so long and come so far. We turned the tide. We are winning hearts and minds to our cause right across the country, as many of our fellow Canadians are coming to understand that a strong Alberta and strong provinces means a stronger and more prosperous Canada. I have repeatedly stated that the position of the UCP caucus and UCP government is to build a strong and sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. I will therefore...
Like, what does that even mean? A strong and sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. What in the hell does that even mean? Are you part of Canada or are you not? Like, this is the wishy-washy bullshit that separationists aren't going to like and that liberals aren't going to like. Like, it's a lose-lose situation, because conservatives, the neoconservatives, are going to be like, no, I don't want to separate. And then the separationists, Trumpian style conservatives, will be like, you're fake. You're not part of the cause. Like, it's so bad. Like, I don't get this line at all. Like, I don't understand it whatsoever.
Be voting for Alberta to remain in Canada. I am fiercely loyal to both Alberta and Canada, but I truly believe our country is so much stronger and more prosperous when we respect the rights of provinces and empower them to govern themselves with minimal federal interference. Albertans, not Ottawa. Quebecers, not Ottawa. And all the other provinces must each be empowered to control our own direction and destiny. I ask you to please consider joining me to vote for Alberta to remain in Canada and not give up on our beautiful country just as we're gaining respect and the tide is turned in our favor. Let's use the power of hope and persuasion and reject the language of division and demonization.
But the thing is, her whole thing is demonization and separation and division. I mean, she's banning her whole, like, all of these separationists. Most of them, like Danielle Smith's party banned like gay flags in schools. Like, who's that helping? Whoop-de fucking do, like culture war shit. That's not gonna benefit Albertans, really. That's separation. That's not, let's all unite. That's, hey, those people are weird, get them out of here. Not, hey, we accept everybody. You go, hey, that's not our normal, so fuck you, right? So you're kind of just, you know, you're not really for everybody.
Voices of hatred and vilification divide us as a people. Because at the end of this debate, and when the
I like that. Let's not let hate and vilification divide us. But anyway, fuck Ottawa, and Ottawa is evil, and Carney is evil, and the liberals are evil, and immigrants are evil. All this shit, right? And it's like none of them realize probably that capitalism is the problem, that these problems that everyone is facing is just crises of capitalism, unemployment, the fucking, you know, like the massive, like, war, like, style of unemployed people, just millions of people unemployed.
Referendum is over.
Inflation,
we must come together to ensure that our beloved
taxes,
province continues to prosper. And that is my hope, that our beloved Alberta and Canada will remain forever strong and free.
Great stuff. Alberta should remain in Canada, but the status quo must change. Wow, Alberta, Canada secessionists say they've submitted enough signatures to trigger a vote to leave Canada. It must now be approved to come to a final vote. This is huge. These patriots deserve to be liberated from these leftists. Alberta is the most conservative province. I wouldn't mind them becoming the 51st or 52nd state after this, right? Because Venezuela is now the 51st state, if anyone hasn't realized yet. But it's not true. They've submitted a referendum on the referendum. So you're voting basically for if you should have the vote. Not if you should leave yet, but if you should have the vote to leave. So, just common misinformation on X. Here's Nahad Nenshi, the guy who is the NDP opposition of Alberta. A fierce, loyal Canadian would not have spent 2 years trying to burn down Canada. A fierce, loyal Canadian would not have made a deal with separatists to give them everything they wanted. A fierce, loyal Canadian would not ride the fence and only say she stood for Canada when it became politically convenient. Danielle Smith is not an innocent bystander. She cannot blame 700,000 Albertans for this. She has been driving the separatist bus the entire time. Great. I mean, sure. Yeah, cool. Good message. But, again, attack the plan. People care about economics, right? Because people are even the most dumbest people kind of respect math in a way where it's they don't understand it, but they get how real it is, So if you can, and economics isn't real math. Economics is not physics. It's not repeatable, testable, etc. But if you can just put together an economic plan that pushes, or at least, downgrades Danielle Smith's plan and tells Albertans, how much they'll be paying for this, is better than being you're not a fierce Canadian or a loyal Canadian, a fierce, loyal Canadian. But anyway. Yeah, there's nothing extreme about asking whether Alberta would be better governed by Albertans. It is one of the most reasonable questions in Alberta politics today. And this is hilarious because it's not gonna happen that way. Albertans are not going to be governed or governing Alberta. You know who will be governing Alberta? The capitalist class of Alberta, the ruling class of Alberta, not you or me. If you own an oil company, you will be in charge. If you have huge investments in Alberta and big infrastructure, you'll be in charge. If you're that guy, you'll be in charge of running the Alberta economy, not Albertans, because they're not running on nationalizing Alberta oil or the surplus of Alberta. They're not running on nationalizing the surplus. So the surplus will stay in private hands and not Albertans' hands. Because if you nationalize it and then say, let's all vote on what to do with the surplus, that would be Albertans more directly running Alberta. Just leaving it as capitalism and just having oil barons run the province is not Albertans running Alberta, unfortunately. Each and every time Alberta separatism is brought up in the media, they go after Danielle Smith for stoking the separatist movement. That is true. They rarely, if ever, bring up 11 years of being ignored and basically left out of the Canadian conversation by the Liberal government as the true case or the true cause of Alberta's separation. This is true, though. This is a true sentiment. We can watch this clip of what he's talking about, but Alberta, the West in Alberta, is definitely, they're mad at the government, right? Because they're very resource rich and they get heavily taxed and they don't get a lot back because they're so rich and they can fund their own stuff, right? They don't need as much support, government support, whereas other provinces do. And when that happens and you kind of ignore that and people are getting more angry, feeling more ripped off. And it's not like the Alberta government's fucking spending more on services. They're cutting services.
No sense.
Scott, that
No sense.
Scott, the Premier insists that she will campaign on the stay side. Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the federal Conservatives, also pretty emphatically said this week that he and his federal Conservative MPs will do the same. What do you envision, the voices on that side are going to have to be like? Who are they going to have to be? And what kind of things are they going to have to do over the summer?
Well, I thought, to his credit, Pierre Poilievre was emphatic and he was declarative. And he talked about it from the perspective of if he's someone who aspires to be prime minister, then his first obligation is to ensure that he is a champion of keeping Alberta within Canada. I must say, Premier Smith has offered very flimsy assurances by way of comparison. And, this notion that, she says, well, I'm going to campaign for Alberta to stay here, but she talks of it so casually at her Friday press conference. Well, I'll do some town halls like I do town halls. I'll talk about all 9 questions. No doubt this question will come up. This is a engineered question to create division, to ignite dangerous elements. I mean, as you said yourself, it is a question it's a cake and eat it too question. It invites obviously separatists to vote to leave, but it also invites all others to say, well, you know what, maybe this is a strategic vote. Perhaps I can wedge a little bit more out of Ottawa and the other provinces, the rest of Canada, if we perpetuate this and move toward. There's no downside, there's no consequence, there's no immediate separation. So
yeah, and this is funny too. I even thought about doing this because I'm an Albertan. Spoiler alert, but I'm an Albertan, so I get to vote in this vote. But even I thought, why not just vote yes, just because I want? It's fun. Listen, I've thrown my opinions out on the internet. I'm a fucking socialist, I know my vote doesn't matter, so why not fucking just vote yes for funsies? Why not?
Let's just keep this thing going and see if.
Because the thing is, people are so fed up with the government. People feel the alienation. People feel ripped off. People feel squeezed, and they are being squeezed. And so why not vote yes? So why not just stick it to the top guy? Because a separation could be a legitimate part of Quebec separating and the dissolution of Canada if hypothetically it were to go to that extreme.
It offers us leverage. The challenge, of course, is that perpetuates uncertainty. The Premier, in the same breath that she talks about the need to get this issue resolved, is herself the sponsor of it. She is offering the platform for the separatists, for the spread of, at least for 5 months, misinformation. She is creating a climate where these divisions and this dialogue will unfold. And she acts as though she's just a cork in a raging river of democracy. She's steering the ship, and she's steering it toward the shoals of separatism.
No sense.
And this is what liberals do, right? This is exactly what liberals do, is they fearmonger. They go scary conservatives. Look how evil the conservatives are. Look at how scary they're being. They're being reckless. They're going against norms. They're going to start a constitutional crisis. And the thing is, people want their voices heard, right? And all the liberals do is go, look how scary and reckless the conservatives are being, instead of going, here's our plan. Here's like a better economic plan. Here's like what we should be doing. It's like, oh, how scary Danielle Smith is. And that will be in the news like forever, until the vote basically and after. Like we'll be hearing about this all year. Must watch. Vassy nails it. Okay, let's watch.
To be blunt, everybody,
why is my left ear only? CTV has these fucking issues, man, where it's like only my left ear. Like, I don't know what it is about Canadian broadcasting. Like their audio engineers are probably interns. Like, what's going on over there?
Quebec. It was for Canada back in 1995 and in 1980. In fact, Quebec's economy has never recovered. In this case, not only did you change the law, you've had so many off-ramps. You could have used the court case as an off-ramp. You could use the fact that we're in a trade war with the
CTV question period. Here, Danielle Smith, does this not have my left ear audio all fucked up? Please, CTV News, please. Please. Please, CTV. Oh my God, Smith is such a shapeshifter. Can't even answer all the questions. What's wrong with this woman? Let's like all these. Why not? Okay. How much I get? I'm guaranteeing you it's still left
And
here.
joining me now
Oh,
is Premier Smith. Hi,
look at that. That's only Twitter done fucked up. Hey, Han Thomas A. Huzak, my left ear does not enjoy that. Anyway, let's watch this video of Danielle Smith answering CTV question period about separation. So yeah, let's watch.
And joining me now is Premier Smith. Hi, Premier. Welcome back to the program. Thank you very much for making the time. I appreciate it. I heard you talk a lot at your press conference and even before that about democracy and how you don't want to suppress it by not having this or any secession referendum go ahead. But you didn't run, Premier, on any of this in the last election. You never talked about a referendum or calling one yourself, in fact. What's democratic about that?
Well, it's correct. And so my government policy is to remain in Canada, but we also have a citizen initiative process that people can go out and get petition signatures. There were 400,000 people who signed a petition saying they wanted to vote to remain, and 300,000 saying that they wanted a referendum to leave. So that's 700,000 people representing about 25% of the Alberta electorate. And I feel obligated from the point of view of respecting democracy to let that go ahead and have the debate.
Is that an accurate representation, though, of the true meaning of those two petitions? You know, I interviewed Thomas Lukaszuk this week, for example. He testified before one of the legislative committees. He's the organizer behind that other referendum on the positive question, kind of the stay in Canada question, who got over 400,000 signatures. Yes, there are mentions of referendums, which are qualified as being inevitable in the application that he provided, but he did not check the constitutional referendum box. He checked the legislative policy box. When you say it's a combined 700,000 signatures, it's really only 300,000 on one petition that...
Yeah, I'm glad that the reporter is saying this, because even I thought of that. I'm like, she's combining numbers that don't make any sense. I'm like, 700,000 people participated in voting for or against separation, but only 300,000 voted for separation. The majority voted against separation.
Wanted to have a referendum on actually separating from Canada. And under the old law, before you changed it, that would not have met the threshold.
Well, I would say that the distinction between the two.
Oh, damn. So, okay. I didn't even know that.
And this is a policy referendum. And I think that the proponent is trying to rewrite history a bit, because it's pretty clear the 400,000 people who signed on to his petition signed on expecting that there would be a referendum. But that's the reason why we're going forward the way we are, is the court has determined that there's some legal hurdles that would be in the place of having a binding constitutional referendum. But I need an indication from Albertans about which direction we're going to go. This debate has been lingering on. Some
I like that.
say decades, but
67% say against, by the way.
Years. And I would like to have it out, have 5
Look at the
months to
reporter's
debate it.
face.
I will be supporting the Remain side. I'll be doing what I can to convince my fellow
Like
Albertans
analyzing,
to join me in that.
interpreting
but we
this.
do need to get this issue resolved so that we can come to a conclusion and we can move on from it. And that's what I hope happens on October 19th.
I understand the criticism, for example, of Mr. Lukaszuk, and I put that to him. But again, it feels as though you're trying to say all of these people want to have a referendum, want to risk the possibility of Alberta separating from Canada. I don't understand how that's a fair representation of those 400,000 people. And I don't understand how, you know, Canadians wouldn't arrive at the conclusion that you actually want this referendum to take place, that you are the one kind of driving the bus in that case, because you did lower the threshold. You extended the time by which they could garner those signatures. Like, you made it easier to happen.
Well, I guess the thing to keep in mind is a policy under the old rules, you needed 292,000 signatures, and they got them on both. They got 400,000 on one and 300,000 on another, and combined, it's 700,000 people who went through the process. I mean, it's not easy to go through and set up the booths and get the badges and do the signatures and convince your fellow citizens. So I have to believe that everybody who went through that process and everyone who signed believed what was being told to them, that there would be a chance to vote on this. And so now people do have the vote to remain. That is one option on the ballot. And people have the chance to vote if they want to start the legal process to separate. That's, I think, what I heard from Albertans that they want to have, and that's what they'll be able to do on October the 19th. But I think there's good reason for us to feel encouraged by the changes that have been made in Canada and the recent MOU that the Prime Minister and I have signed that we're undoing a lot of the reasons why people were frustrated over the past 10 years. And so I think there's a few more things that we need to work on together, but I'm encouraged to see that the Prime Minister has indicated he's prepared to work with us on that, and he's shown that with his actions. And so I'm going to go forward and continue to make that case to my fellow Albertans.
The reason I ask about your own role here, though, Premier, is not facetiously. It's because the risk, like this is huge. Like, to be blunt, to everybody watching, this is hugely consequential. It was for Quebec. It was for Canada back in 1995 and in 1980. In fact, Quebec's economy has never recovered. In this case, not only did you change the law, you've had so many off-ramps. You could have used the court case as an off-ramp. You could use the fact that we're in a trade war with the United States as an off-ramp. You could say, I never campaigned on this in 2023, so it isn't democratic for me to go ahead with it now.
Well, yeah. Where's your off-ramp? Why are you stoking? Why are you, and a lot of people, like a lot of the left, like all the left is just like, why are you separating? Why are you guys being so scary? Why are you guys being so against the norms? And it's like, yeah, because everyone's fucking fed up with the norms. That's why. And at least the Conservatives are at least bold enough to bring in their radicals on the right, and which is bad for the left, because the left does not like socialists or communists. So the left is kind of stuck with trying to pull from the center right and being like, no, we're like also cool.
But you're not choosing any of that. You are very distinctly risking your province's economy and perhaps the larger Canadian economy to put this question forward. Is it to do, as Doug Ford said today, just appease the 30% of your base that wants this?
The war amps
well,
have
obviously
financial support for.
But it's also like the fucking UCP. It's a huge thing in the UCP party. Like, it's a huge thing within her own party. So she has to be doing it because it's popular, right? And it's not like liberals don't do the same fucking bullshit. They both go where the wind blows. Whatever, is trending, they can get votes off of. They'll fucking say whatever they need to. Holy fucking ads, though.
Well, direct democracy is the ultimate form of democracy, and that's what this is. It's an exercise of direct democracy where every one of the Albertans eligible to vote will be able to have their say. And my view is that you don't just eliminate the anger that people have by ignoring it. I think if you try to ignore it or suppress it, it can grow into something out of control. I think this gives an option for people to be heard, and it gives an option for those who want to remain, those of us who want to remain, to make the arguments about why we feel so strongly about that. I think it would be far worse for this to linger on for years, creating more and more division, more and more frustration. I think that we have 5 months now to have it out, make the case, and be able to vote on it and move on. And I hope that the result that on October the 19th is to remain, so that I can get to work on continuing to build the case for Alberta within Canada, and to build a case for some of the issues that I think have caused that frustration, and to resolve them. I think we've got a Prime Minister who's now prepared to work with us on that, and I think that's positive. It's not just positive for us, it's positive for the whole country. I think that there's a lot of frustration with the way that the government conducted itself over the previous 10 years.
The thing is like, Alberta is shit because of the Conservative governments and the NDP governments, because it's shit, one, because of capitalism. It's just a crisis. Because we're oil heavy industry. We have one heavy industry for employment, right? And that's a crisis because not everyone wants to work in oil and etc. And also, they don't spend, like Danielle Smith cuts and cuts and cuts, and that saves her government money. It saves the Alberta ruling class money, and everyone else is stuck getting shittier services and shittier everything. So, and the NDP promise way too much and then under deliver so fucking hard because they're bound by capital, and they can only tax so much. They can only take so much from the rich without the rich, holding the economy hostage because it's in private hands. So it's a lose-lose, everybody. I don't know There's no solution here, is what I'm saying. We're
Evidenced by the
fucked.
fact that the prime minister was removed and the leader of the or the opposition that was supporting him with the NDP was also removed. I think people want to move on, and I think we have to be able to have that vote, have a robust debate, make the case, and be able to convince our fellow citizens of that there's a reason to fight for Canada and to make it work.
At what cost, though, Premier? And I'm the last person who would dismiss the sentiment that you describe. And I spent all of the last 10 years asking many difficult questions of federal Liberals about their views and the way in which they govern themselves in Alberta. But, you know, there are other ways to address it. And you mentioned them yourselves. You pursue them in some instances with the MOU. Like, the only option is not airing your grievances. And you don't even know if that happens. Will it actually end the sentiment? Will it solve the sentiment? The way to solve it, as you've said on many other occasions, is to address what underpins it. Why not do that and not risk the unity of this country?
Well, that's what I have been doing. I mean, the Prime Minister and I signed our MOU in November, but keep in mind the signature campaign for the Remain group was going on all during that time. And then the signature for the other group began in the beginning of the year. So clearly there are some unanswered questions for people. There clearly is still some frustration. And there clearly is a reason why my fellow citizens want to have this debate. So I don't want to ignore that. I think that the job of a leader is to give an opportunity for people to have that discussion, that debate, and vote on it. And the best way to do that is voting on it democratically and directly, which is why we're putting it on the ballot along with the other 9 questions. I mean, my agenda as a government is the 9 questions we are putting on: to take more control over immigration, to identify 4 constitutional changes we can work towards. And I do want to get a mandate on those as well. But this is something that the citizens have been asking for. And so we'll put it forward, and I will make the strongest case I can that things have changed and that it's time for us to work together on the issue of Remain and to make Canada stronger.
Again, though, Premier, like you're not just like a sort of bystander in all of this.
They really harping on, why are you doing this? And she's not going to answer directly like, oh, well, it's popular within my base, so I'm giving them the voice. I mean, she's saying it without saying it. She's being like, well, a lot of Albertans want to participate in this and shit. And I just hope that the no crowd doesn't fall for that. A lot of the no crowd will be like, well, yeah, she is, you know, giving us, I do think this is going to happen, so it's good that I get to vote. It's like, well, she is also leading the charge of all of the misinformation around the narrative around Alberta, the oil, the taxes, all of the anti-immigrant, anti-oil, anti-Ottawa sentiment is all coming from her party and the online shit, X. Like, you know, she's not just going to be like, yep, here. She's not going to drop the mask and tell you her whole plan.
Looking at these other questions, that 10th question is an incredibly consequential one, so much so that the head of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, for example, says that the uncertainty generated by your decision comes, quote unquote, at exactly the wrong time. Last week, I discussed with you how the head of ATCO had said it's already impacting investment in your province, and I referenced the example of Quebec. It had a devastating impact on the entire future of the economy there. Why are you willing to risk all of that? Is it just to appease separatists who now promise to bring you down?
Well, I can tell you this is the reason we need an answer now. It's why we can't let it linger for years, is that I do accept that it would create uncertainty if it did, and why we need to have some certainty on October the 19th. But you have to understand the perspective of frustrated Albertans. They watched as a federal government, with being propped up by the NDP, systematically dismantled any case for investment in Alberta in our oil and gas industry, blocked pipelines, tried to prevent us from developing natural gas, prevent us from developing natural gas power plants, prevent us from being able to start a new industry on AI data centers. You have to remember, those are the things that Albertans are seeing are absolutely devastating to the investment climate. I think we've reversed those. That's part of the reason why the Prime Minister and I were working on addressing those aspects of the MOU, because Albertans have asked for it. 700,000 Albertans signed a petition. This
whole question period is, why are you doing this? Danielle Smith, why are you being so informal about the formalities? What about the constitutional formalities, Danielle Smith? Why are you doing this? How could you? Because they don't care. At least the Conservatives have the balls to at least act this crazy. But the thing is, it's the wrong type of crazy. The wrong type of crazy. We need a socialist, communist type of crazy, okay? And have that be normalized within a left party that can actually challenge. But no, there's nothing from the left. Just this pathetic, what the hell? Oh my God, you're acting so wild. Save Canada.
And we do have a process here. Not everybody has a citizen initiative process for referenda, so it may be a bit unusual for the rest of the country, but this was a citizen-initiated process, and I want to respect those who put all of the effort into getting their fellow citizens to sign on, and now we have 5 months to debate it, and I hope that I can convince my fellow Albertans to vote to Remain on October the 19th.
If the Remain side does win, do you promise, as long as you're Premier, you will not hold a separation referendum?
Yes, I do. I will take. I will listen to the will of the people, and that's why I'm going to be advocating on that side. But it goes the other way as well. That if Albertans vote the other way, then we'll have to begin the legal process to get to a binding referendum. I think there's very severe consequences of going that way, and that's the reason why I'm going to be voting and also advocating very strongly for us to vote to remain.
I'll leave it there, Premier. I appreciate your time as always. Thank you so much.
It's like, obviously, it's like, will you go against the will of the people, the majority? Because that is democracy, and people talk about the what's it called, the will of the majority, the fuck, what do they call it? Basically, it's like, oh my god, the majority is so scary because what if they're wrong or something? I don't know, but anyway, that's all bullshit. It's all crap. All the investment stuff. I mean, the investment stuff, it's just to help, as I said, the ruling class of Alberta, the Alberta oil capitalists. So, I mean, if you can get a nice job at the oil fields, that would be good. But it's not like you'll be running the surplus or deciding what will happen with the surplus. But anyway, that was that. And I'll like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. This is a live stream. I gotta make sure I say like and subscribe every video, just in case someone gets all the way through when I chop this up and edit it for the live, Know what I'm saying? Oh, Lord. Anyway, that was fun. President Trump participates in a wreath-laying ceremony. Who cares? I don't care about military ceremonies. They're all kind of snooze fests. I know it's like respect and all that, but not for stream. I'm going to go take a piss and sneeze and blow my nose. I don't care about this political scrum. That's way too long anyway. I have a notification, probably my own video. My own videos I get notified for my own video uploads. It's like, why? I'm not watching my own shit. Yeah, we're gonna take a break. I'll be right back, and yeah. All right, we back. And let's look at this. Canadians most optimistic about country since 2017. Almost 10 years ago. 9 fucking years ago. This was last updated 2 hours ago. So a fresh Abacus poll shows 47% of Canadians believe Canada heads the right way, up from 44% in early May, with Prime Minister Mark Carney's approval rating hitting a record 59%. His Liberals lead Conservatives 47 to 35% among decided voters. Buoyed voters contrast to U.S. policies under President Trump, the world instability, and pollster David Coletto notes, Canadians feel good to be here right now. While support splits among parties and regional lines, the results Mark Carney's strongest ratings over a year into his mandate, even as housing costs and taxes remain his top concerns. So this is most important for, guess who? The liberal ruling class establishment class, because they have swindled Canadians into believing in Mark Carney, believing in this like cutting and investment and this like neoconservative like fiscal conservatism of cutting government services and military spending and investment spending. And who this really helps? Who does this help? Guess who? The ruling class, because they get all the money. The economy is held inside private hands, but people are so wrapped up in this investment and jobs, and oh my God, jobs and investments are coming back to Canada or whatever. Yes, that is not enough to change your life. Sorry. The crisis of inflation, crises will keep happening. There will always be crises as long as we have capitalism. So it's good news for liberals that they're, gaining the majority, but they're not doing anything life-changing. They're actually making life worse because they're cutting services for you and funding war. They're funding, manufacturing weapons. They're funding military, police. They're cutting government services. They're getting rid of carbon taxes. They're giving tax money over to the private sector so that private individuals can hold even more money in Canada. And that's not going to help Canadians by any means. So, but Canadians are definitely enthusiastic about Mark Carney and that the Liberal Party has shifted to this like neoconservative, like common sense Liberal Party. Because now it just seems to be common sense liberals, like right-wing libertarians, and then Trump MAGA heads, basically. That just seems to be the world right now. Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. Let's see what people are saying. 2 polls on the same day. Carney is surging and Canadians feel is on the right track. Black Locks leak in international government poll. Trust in Canada's democratic institutions in a free fall. Where is this? Black Locks? I've never heard. What is Black Locks? I don't know, man. I don't fucking trust anything I see on X, bro. I'm an idiot who'd be like, what? What is this? Okay. Anyway, it's just some fucking other place. Oh no, I closed my X. Lord have mercy. How am I going to live my life without X? We're under constant psychological attack from our media in Canada. I mean, true. Okay. Let's just read this, I guess. Unless there's a video, maybe? Is there a video? I mean, it just released today. Or yesterday. Okay. The number of Canadians who believe the country is heading in the right direction has hit its highest percentage since 2017. The poll published Sunday said that 47% of people believe Canada is heading in the right direction, while 39% say the country is on the wrong track. Meanwhile, the poll suggests 76% of Canadians see the rest of the world as moving in the wrong direction. Really? I mean, that's fair. 76% see the rest of the world is moving in the wrong direction. I mean, yeah, that makes, yeah, looking at the world is like, yeah, shitty. That figure increases to 80% when the question was about the United States. Pollster David Coletto said that this is reflected by respondents saying that they see Canada as a stabilizing force in a turbulent world. This is like such bullshit too, because Canada aids and abets this turbulent world, which is US imperialism, which is Western capitalism. Canada, it plays its role in that. We have like this weird propaganda of like we're the nice guys and we're like sweeties, and you know, we're stabilizing force and we're just there to aid people and help people, which is all good and well, but it's not true at all, because we aid and abet America's war crimes. We still send arms to Israel. We fund proxy wars. Like, we are part of the Western Empire. So this turbulent world that the Western Empire is honestly creating and has created for the past 100 years, Canada has played its big part in that too, of helping that, you know, take place. Anyway, quote, "We've got everything the world wants. And so despite the uncertainty and the chaos of this moment around the world, I think Canadians are increasingly feeling that not everybody, but a growing number of Canadians feel that it's good to be good to be in Canada right now relative to other parts of the world," Coletto said. And the thing is, Canada doesn't have everything. You're still going to need imports from other places. Canada is very resource rich. It's top 10 or something in GDP. It's a strong, wealthy country. But it does not have anything. It does not negate. It's not going to reflect that Canada is just some superior being that is not impacted by inflation and cost of living crises and unemployment and taxes and upset people, and has problems. It's like we are tied to the USA. Wherever the USA goes, can we go? Same with Europe, the USA, like the G7, USA is leading the charge. And Canada and the G7, we're all back there being like, yeah. Even though we might not feel great about it, we have our opinions on it. We still aid and abet and help the Americans do their shenanigans, their war crimes, and their imperialism, their imperial domination of, stealing other people's assets, the military stuff. Anyway, quote, quote, "There's this part patriotism, but also part rational response to feeling that things are moving in the right direction, and they haven't felt that way in quite a while." Yeah, the patriotism narrative has got people all fucking wound up in a knot, got their panties nice and tight, because Canada, I don't think, is really in any threat besides Russia. I don't think America is going to invade. If anything, they just want Alberta to secede into America. But other than that, what else? What is there? I think the sovereignty narrative is being way too overblown and way too used, and it's getting people stirred up because people see the shitty news and the volatility in the world, and they go, "Oh my God, I need to protect myself in Canada," right? The perception of Canada being on the right track does split along party lines, with 71% of Liberal voters sharing that view, and only 24% of Conservative voters. So the Liberals are all hype. 71% of Liberal voters are going nutty. Plato said that while issues like affordability rank highly for everyday challenges faced by Canadians, they aren't necessarily blaming the federal government as the sole cause. Really? That's interesting, because of Trump, right? Quote, "They're not pointing to the decisions that the Carney government are making. They're pointing to Trump. They're pointing to these conflicts around the world as things that, yes, are driving their price of gas up, are going to put pressure on the price of food, but they're looking for people who can help," Leto said. And right now, for almost 6 in 10 Canadians, Mark Carney is that person. So Mark Carney is like the fiscal god, right? He is the banking king, I guess. And he is no different than Margaret Thatcher. He's no different than Biden. He's no different than Stephen Harper, because all he's doing is cutting government services and giving money to the private sector in the terms of investment in Canada. We need to help our economy in Canada. Our economy is struggling in Canada. We need to boost our economy. Our economy is held in the hands of private individuals, private owners, corporations, TELUS, Rogers, huge oligarchs. So helping the economy means feeding them money, feeding them investments so they can make billions of dollars. Meanwhile, you get $70,000 a year while he gets hundreds of millions to billions of dollars a year. That's helping the economy. That doesn't help anyone else besides the ruling class in Canada. So, but liberals love that shit, right? Everyone loves that shit because that's how people see the world. They view the world in this market lens, and you know, freedom of choice to choose your job. And it's, you know, not really like that when there's certain demand for jobs from capitalists, and they're the driving force behind that. And when the market eventually crashes and fails and dries up because of lack of resources, too much competition, and battles and wars and fighting over resources, that shit plummets and it crashes. Capitalism's a very shitty, volatile system. But everyone loves Mark Carney. He is like if Justin Trudeau just did any fiscal like investing of what Carney's doing, of just cutting some services, being like, we're gonna save here and we're gonna invest here, whatever the fuck, and made a more deal about it, of like actually propagandizing that. Not that would be good for Canada, but you know, the way Justin Trudeau got kind of bullied out of office, I was just like, damn, got wedgied hard. The poll suggests that optimism is giving a boost. The Prime Minister Mark Carney Liberal government more than a year into the current mandate. Abacus found that the Liberals have a majority support in Atlantic Canada, Quebec, Ontario, and BC. The Conservatives enjoy most support in the prairie provinces, which makes sense. They are the rural provinces, the oil prairies, and the farmland provinces. 47% of respondents said they would vote Liberal if an election were held today, and 35% they said they would vote Conservative. The Conservatives are crashing out in Canada. What is happening to the Conservatives in Canada? This is the highest result Abacus has tracked for the Carney's Liberals. The NDP picked up 8% support in the poll, and the Bloc Québécois at 6%, and the Green Party at 2%. Who are these people, by the way? I've never met anyone who voted Green or Quebec. I'm not Quebec, but Green or NDP. I mean, I've voted NDP before, so that's not true, but like 8 and 2%. Where are these people? This survey was conducted between May 14th and May 20th with 1,920 respondents and has a 2.23% margin of error, 19 times out of 20. So statistically, you know, pretty accurate. 2.23% margin of error, pretty good. And that's easily enough respondents for like enough data. So yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, everyone's kind of whipped up about this nationalism stuff, and the Liberals are jumping on it for sure, way better than the Conservatives have been. And yeah, like Conservatives are so aligned, like they look at the Conservatives as the Trumpy people. So until they kind of wash that, I don't know how they win in Canada. But anyway, that's that. Just like and subscribe because I'm going to cut this into a YouTube video, and join the stream. Okay, moving on here. Carney takes questions in Ottawa. We could look at that. Gamer news. Interesting engineering. I always like this website. I actually found this, one of my profs in university gave me this website, Interesting Engineering. I love looking at it. because like you don't see this shit in the regular news. Like, very interesting. While we're talking about polls, I guess we could talk about this polls. Pew Research Center. I'm just gonna water up here, H2O up, while I, get ready for a read here. So this is from pewresearch.org. Pew Research Center, you've probably heard of them. A majority of Americans say the country's best years are behind us. Ahead of the United States' 250th anniversary, 59% of Americans say the country's best years are behind us, while 40% say the best years are still ahead. Americans are also much more pessimistic, 44%, than optimistic, 28%, when asked to think about what things will be like in the US 50 years from now. 30%? That's not good. Another 27% are neither optimistic nor pessimistic, according to a December 2025 survey. Views on whether the country's best years are behind or ahead of us differ somewhat across demographic and political groups. Majorities of Black, 66%, Hispanic, 64%, and white adults, 57%, say the country's best years are behind us, as do 53% of Asian adults. Income. Majorities of adults with lower and middle incomes say the country's best years are behind us, 61%, which makes sense. They're feeling it the most, the squeeze, right? Upper income adults are evenly split. Half say the nation's best years are behind us, half say the best years are still to come. Party. Democrats and those who lean towards the Democratic Party are more likely to say the country's best years are behind us, 64%, rather than ahead, 34%. Republicans and Republican leaners are more evenly divided. 53% say the country's best years are behind us, while 46% say they're ahead. I like how liberals are like, yeah, it's fucked. Like 64%'s like it's over. Like I do not see anything good that's happening. How partisan views have changed over time. Views on this question at least partly reflect the political dynamic of the moment. When we asked the same question in a 2014 telephone survey, when the Democratic Party held the White House and the U.S. Senate, Democrats were more likely than Republicans to say the country's best years were in the future, 57% versus 32%. Most Republicans, 64%, and the country's best years had passed. So basically it's flipped, which is interesting. Because when the Democrats had power in 2014, I guess that would be maybe, what was that, Obama? I was too young to know. Is that at the end of Obama, his second term? But they were very optimistic about the future, and now it's completely flipped, where it's like Democrats are not optimistic about the future, and Republicans are basically split. And I think the Trump thing has split the conservatives into these neocons and then these Trumpian people. Due to the difference in survey methodology, the 2014 findings are not directly comparable to the findings from the 2015 survey. So do not take what I just said as fact, because that is wrong. Thank you, survey. That's why we do this is all of opinion on this stream. Are Americans pessimistic or optimistic about the country's future? When asked to think about what things will be like in the US 50 years from now, many Americans are downbeat. 44% say they feel very or somewhat pessimistic. 28% feel very or somewhat optimistic. 27% feel neither optimistic nor pessimistic. On this question, too, Democrats have a more negative view than Republicans. Half of Democrats say they feel pessimistic about the country's future, compared with 39% of Republicans. Liberal Democrats have particularly gloomy views. 63% are very or somewhat pessimistic, compared with 41% of moderate and conservatives. Conservative Democrats. Opinions among Republicans don't vary as much by ideology. So I like that. Conservative Democrats, like those fucking, who's that guy? That bald guy. What's his name? Fetterman. Yeah, that's his name. He's a fucking conservative Democrat. All right. That's interesting, but I get it. Trump's definitely fucking the world up. So, I mean, yeah, it's the squeeze. People are feeling it. People are not happy about where the world is going, you could say. I don't need to watch this 2-minute Pierre fucking propaganda campaign. We can watch this. Carney taking his questions today. Let's just watch the whole interview, because I think the only thing they've cut out of the interview is the Alberta referendum question. Oh, Rebel News is streaming. I wonder if they'll respond to me. Maybe I'll chat. What the fuck is this? Oh my god, ads. 3 ads in a row.
A sudden staff up 10,000 Canadians.
Oh, I'm on live. Where's the chat? Where's my chat at?
And not only were they lobbying for an increase.
How come I can't chat? Does bitch have chat off? Dislike. Well, no, I want to like it because I need more algorithm support.
Thingamajiggy.
Join?
They wanted a loophole
I can't
for you
chat.
So that
Okay. Fucking 318 people watching that shit. Just somewhere in the world like me, just somewhere, some old guy on the computer just watching Rebel News, getting mad at the world. Yeah, let's watch the Carney interview. We're going to take a break. I'm going to honestly just, fit my pants. So we'll get into this because this is going to be a long video, chat. Long video. Oops. I just realized my mic was muted, so let me do that intro again. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vancouver Canucks. I'm doing the Vancouver Canucks Let's Play. I know it's not going to be everyone's jam for a stream, but we're going to do an hour of this because I love this game. I've put thousands of hours into all of these franchise games because it's a hockey sim and it's one of the only ones on the PC. So having it open and doing whatever is really entertaining for me, just managing the game, and it's really fun. Just like manager mode, GM mode on the PS5 and stuff. But anyway, we're doing Vancouver. Our owner is Aquilini. We will manage him as we will. We have $108 million, the trade deadline, all that stuff. Let's take a look at our depth chart and our lines. That's the depth chart. These are our lines. So we have no Hughes, no nothing. And we have our head coach. We're not going to be head coach or anything like that. We're going to let our head coaches run out the year. So right now, my main goal of the year is to honestly just start simming ahead to the prospect tournament. Let's get the sim already going because it will take a while, a long time. So we can sit here and chat about Vancouver. But this series goes out to the hockey guy because maybe one day the Vancouver Canucks will win a cup, maybe. But he will be celebrated, of course. I'm not just saying that like he's dead, but I hope he keeps saying they'll never win in his lifetime. I hope this series brings him some joy, solace, you know. But anyway, the more I do this, the more I realize this is shitty for a stream, and I should do this offline. So anyway, that was the intro. Let's just say that was the intro. Let's just say that was the intro. Because what am I gonna do? Sit here and just watch a sim? Labonte for a 6th round pick? Get out of here. I'm not making any trades yet. Get off me. Why are these people already on the trade block? I didn't put them on the trade block. Who done did that? Anyway, yeah, we're just gonna save and quit. This is not good for stream. Anyway, this stream is already bad. This is streaming content as a stream, a VOD viewing ship, too many breaks. And this does not help. Anyway, I wanted to take a break from politics, but we can watch that Carney video, honestly. I'm kind of feeling it now. Kind of feeling Carney. I want to go back to him. My true one only love, Carney. So anyway, Mark Carney did a little interview, I guess, took questions in Ottawa. Let's just see what he has to say to old Canadians, all right? Let's just hear out what he's got.
Came together at this agreement, Premier Ford and I, to cut development charges in half. So what does that mean? It means up to $158,000 of reduced costs for housing here in Ottawa. Since that time, and part of the reason we're here is to see the good work of EQ Homes, but since that time, this company, this development, has seen sales go up by 65%.
I love this thing where he's like, look at this. Look at what I've done. I've given millionaires, billionaire developers even more money to scam you in housing, to charge the average rate of housing while also saving more money. Isn't that great, guys? That's amazing.
Gives a sense of both the demand for affordable housing, but also the impact of these measures. En même temps, nous avons lancé en septembre Maison Canada. Alors, c'est Maison. Back in September, Build Canada Homes started just back in September. A series of accords across this country, from Yukon, where the minister was yesterday, to Nunavut, where he will be later this week, to right here in Ottawa, where we agreed to build 3,000 affordable homes with the city.
Why is his mic crackling?
Overall,
that's not me. That's his shitty mic. Get him a new mic.
Build Canada Homes has concluded more than 14 accords.
This is the best mic Canada has to offer.
To build up to 15,000 homes just for those accords. There's a lot more in the funnel, so we're really getting the momentum there for this core objective of building affordable homes. So I just wanted to take the chance, and Marie-France, thank you for showing around your neighborhood, your riding.
And listen, affordable homes still means like the average price of homes, which is still unaffordable for many people.
I want to thank the builders,
like so many people,
and the developers of EQ for helping us fulfill this mission. So with that, I look forward to questions.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Marika Walsh with the Globe and Mail. Some critics are saying that the deal you struck with Alberta doesn't set a strong enough incentive for Alberta to stay in the program once it gets a pipeline, that they could easily just pay the $1.2 billion break fee and bail on the carbon pricing regime after they get a pipeline, similar to what we saw with Trans Mountain. How do you respond to that?
I'm not sure about the final point of your question there.
Well, the Trans Mountain pipeline, Trudeau approved it with the express intention of a carbon price and a cap on emissions.
So a couple of things. One is, let's start with the carbon price, which is that we have a carbon market in Alberta, and we have carbon markets across Canada that don't really work. They don't function as carbon markets. So headline prices, $95, $110, actual prices before we began these MOU discussions with Alberta, $20. So headline price 6.5 times, or effective price 6.5 times, where the market was trading at the time. So how do we turn something that was broken, didn't work, didn't achieve what was desired, into something that actually functions as a market? And there's several ways we're doing it. You referenced one of them. It's not a break fee, it's contracts for differences. These are contracts directly with entities that are building renewable power, clean power. So they're contracts. You don't break a contract as a government, certainly not in Canada. So that's $1.2 billion worth jointly between the two of us. The second thing we're doing is putting in place
a break fee. I mean, it's just, yeah, the Canadian government's helping fund this shit. Like, yeah, your tax dollars are going into funding private investments, and all the surplus will be held in private hands, as always. And Canadians won't feel the investment as much as they maybe would like.
Agreed to put in place a floor price starting from 2030. That will be a regulated floor. That means that credits cannot trade below those floor prices, and it's a rising floor. That will also contribute to the functioning of the market. I think the third thing I'd underscore is that this is an agreement. This is an agreement. It's not an MOU, it's not a memorandum of understanding. It is now an implementation agreement, a 50-page implementation agreement between the Government of Canada and the Government of Alberta. Governments, as I said a moment ago, in Canada respect their agreements. There is a desire to do several things, an intent to do several things, an agreement to do several things. That agreement includes building more conventional energy. It means developing a new industry, excuse me, of carbon capture, and it includes having a functional carbon market. And I will add one last thing, which that also creates the possibility of broadening that carbon market across Canada with willing provinces.
But that agreement expressly says that to get out of the deal, Alberta simply, or the federal government...
No, it does not expressly say that.
It says it assumes sole liability. Alberta says that means they would have to pay $1.2 billion if they renege on carbon pricing. Is that not correct?
There are contracts for, I answered that question, if I may, already. There are contracts for differences which are struck for specific projects that would remove, projects to be determined that are going to remove or have low carbon and create, would otherwise create credits. That is part of several factors. That is one of several factors.
So
that is part of the agreement. I think you might.
Next question.
And see, like, this is like where the Canadian politeness is a little too strong here with Carney, because this is a Globe and Mail lady, probably like right-wing conservative criticism of Carney, right? All well and good, that's fine. But she's like, people are like, next question, come on, stop nagging them. You've had plenty of time.
Think of the referendum. Prime Minister, Tanya McCharles, Toronto Star. What do you think of the referendum question that Danielle Smith has asked? How do you see your role in this debate, and what do you plan to do to campaign for Canadian unity?
Well, let me start at the end, which is I certainly will be campaigning for Canadian unity. I've begun that, and part of the campaign is not a campaign, but it's actions. It's practicing cooperative federalism with Alberta, with Quebec, with all provinces and territories in the country, with Indigenous peoples as well. So it's moving the country forward, but moving the country forward with agreements and with parties aligned. So finding that common ground so we can move, and that's what Albertans expect. That's what Canadians expect across the country. And I'm pleased that the premiers are buying into this and moving forward on a number of fronts. So that's the first thing.
Yeah, the patriotism thing too is so funny because people love their Canada. I know all these separationists like some of them want to join the States, but come on, like a lot of these people were born and raised in Canada. I don't know if it really would come down to it. Like a lot of them, their homegrown country, like they've been the military propagandized into loving Canada. Like I don't know how much, like it's a shitty poll anyway. It's like so heavily in the minority, but still, I don't know if it came down to it. These people might be crying for Canada if Canada like dissolved.
And if I may just refer to my previous answer with respect to cooperation agreements, including potentially with the province of Quebec, that is an example of that cooperation. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, of course, being part of Canada brings many economic advantages, being part of our large market, being part of free trade agreements with 1.5 billion people around the world. But in the core, it's more than economic arguments, and I'm going to get to the first part of your question in a second. It's more than economic benefits, it's social. It's what we are as Canadians. So Canadians take care of each other. We take care of each other in our social programs. We take care of each other across different provinces. We look out for each other internationally, and this is a time where it's particularly important. What do I think of the question? In terms of the specifics of the question, we have an obligation as the federal government to look at the question and determine whether it's consistent with the Clarity Act that is underway. Ultimately, if there are questions around that, questions about the clarity of the question, if you follow, that would be a role for Parliament. I'm not saying that's the case, but we're just in the process of doing our due diligence. I will make the following observation though about the question, and this is an observation from experience. In these separation issues, it is often advanced that vote for this and it's a free option. Vote for this and we will strengthen our hand in a future negotiation. That is a very dangerous bluff. That is a very dangerous bluff. I saw firsthand what happened in the United Kingdom when the view was vote for this, it'll be soft, and then we'll negotiate, etc. And they end up, and they're still 10 years later trying to undo what people didn't think they were voting for, but what they ended up having. Les Canadiens peuvent réfléchir sur.
Yeah, I mean, separation is just a bad idea in general. Like, it doesn't make any economic sense. A lot of these people it won't change. We went over this in the Danielle Smith bit, but it won't change anything for Albertans ultimately, because you're just going to have more costs put onto you, more heavy burdens, more squeezing from this separation onto you, and it's just going to make life harder. Meanwhile, the probably crazed Alberta government cuts all of your healthcare and all of your fucking infrastructure and everything the government does. Like, it would not be a fun time for Canadians in Alberta.
Les commentaires après les strong. We have to be very careful. Quelques-unes, c'était le commencement de vraie séparation. So we have to be very careful about this. There's a very strong positive case for Canada, a strong Alberta in a united Canada. We're making it stronger, working together, and I look forward to making.
That's weird that he used Danielle Smith's line.
Canadians over the course of the next 150 days.
My colleagues in French would love to hear that.
Oui, juste en français plus longuement par rapport à la question. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de la question?
Si
Canada en a l'entente recommande.
Dans la question, c'est la Colombie-Britannique de beaucoup.
I'm not this Canadian. I'm sorry.
Le climat après. Canada. Well, in a healthy caucus, you will always have an exchange of views, suggestions, and we have exchange of views of some members of the caucus perspectives. In April, of course, there's 160 other members of that caucus. We have to take decisions that are in the interests of the country, that reflect an agreement with the province of Alberta, the interests of British Columbia, the interests of Indigenous peoples, and also that looks at policy in its totality. And I mentioned in French the electricity strategy, which came out after that letter was sent, doubling our grid. We really underscored in that strategy the value of electrifying much of Canada, including obviously heating of homes and transportation, industrial production as well. Getting that right will have a huge impact on and a much bigger impact on our emission reduction. I would add as well our nature strategy, notre stratégie de la nature, $5 milliards, $5 million for a nature strategy, as well as one of the only G7 countries who's maintained its commitment, which we also did after that letter, maintained its commitment to international development finance. So you have to look at everything.
Is that a lot of people are gonna like that, because a lot of people just hear this fucking climate shit as a restriction to investment, right, and profits. Like hearing that Canada is the only place that's like still doing this is not going to be great for a lot of these neocons who are like, well, I'd rather burn the world for short-term profit.
We do many things at the same time. We're moving forward on climate action. We're moving forward on making this country more affordable, the focus of today, and more sustainable and more prosperous for all. Thank you very much.
Hi, Prime Minister. Tom Perry with CBC. Can I ask you, when you met with Danielle Smith, Premier Smith in Calgary, did you
Bro,
try
it's
to
all about
persuade her
fucking Danielle
not
Smith.
to put a question of separation?
We're here talking about affordable housing.
And I guess if I could ask as a second part, now that there is this question in place, how much uncertainty does it create for investors who want to put money into a pipeline or any other kind of project in Alberta?
Look, it's, I mean, the Premier has proposed this, the question and other questions with it. As I said earlier, Tom, we will look at, we will discharge our responsibilities, look at consistency of the question about a question, if I can put it that way, on separation, our consistency of that with the Clarity Act. So it is what it
I can't wait till Danielle Smith spends millions of dollars just so Alberta can slam dunk this fucking referendum out of the court. Like, taxpayer dollars are going to this bullshit.
It is. It's there.
This stupid, ridiculous question.
As I said, look, the Premier doesn't always take my advice. But can I finish my, please? Look, is it helpful to ask these fundamental questions? No, it's not helpful. Of course it's not. Is it the democratic will of Albertans? Did they vote for this in the last provincial election? No, they didn't. It wasn't on the ballot paper. It wasn't in the mandates of or platforms of any of or of the governing party and the official opposition. It is what it is. I'll repeat that. The core approach here and reality is positive. There's tremendous strengths that Canada brings to Alberta and Alberta brings to Canada. We are absolutely stronger together. We're better together. We're better people. We're wealthier together. My colleague Corey Hogan points out rightly that median wealth in Canada is 23% higher than the United States. It's not something people would think. But why is that the case? It's because we take care of each other. It's because we focus on things like affordability. Because the people who live here will get childcare. The people who live here will get health care. The people who live here will get high-quality education for their kids. If they're retiring here, they'll get OAS and GIS because Canadians take care of each other. It's not perfect. Can it get better? Do we need to continue to work together as provinces and federal governments? Absolutely. Are we making progress? The Alberta Accord is one of many examples. You'll see many, many more. What Minister Robertson is.
And, that's all true. Like, Canada is a great nation. It's a great, well-civilized, well-developed country. What he's talking about, it's all like, I grew up in a normal Canadian society. I go to post-secondary. We don't have post-secondary for free, like many Europe countries. We don't take care of ourselves in that way. You have to strap yourself with debt, but, this is why a lot of libs like Carney, because he's like a common sense conservative, right? Because we take care of each other and we invest smartly and shit like that. Like, a lot of people, there's a reason why that poll came out and he's so popular amongst libs. Like, people love this neocon shit. They're not fucking with the MAGA separatists. Like, the MAGA movement is not popular in Canada.
Doing with Build Canada Homes is in concert with the provinces. $158,000 off homes. That is because of work between the federal government, province of Ontario. Similar.
He said development costs, by the way, at the very start, off the cost of homes. He said development costs. It's literally, this is what Carney and fucking Pierre both do. This is what every bourgeois economist does. They think, oh, I can fucking cut costs, give the companies a break, and they can charge a more competitive price, bring the price down, whatever. In theory, could make sense, but the average price, competitive price, the market equilibrium is still going to be what it is. And if there is incentive to profit more from these breaks, they're going to do that. So, and the price, that median price of a home in Canada is well beyond lots of people's means, unless you have like a 4-person household, like a double income household.
Things are going to happen across this country. One of many, many examples of how we're stronger together at a time when the world is under enormous pressure. And, I'll finish with this, which is that you look around the world. I travel around the world and I see, and the world is in pain. Most countries don't think that they're headed in the right direction. Canada, with all our imperfections, challenges, Canadians think we are headed in the right direction. And part of the reason why they think we're headed in the right direction, is because we're Canadian, because we know we'll come together and we'll work to find a better way. And I'm committed, my government's committed to continue to do so. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, Carney, I mean, the Liberals really struck gold leaning into this nationalism, patriotism pipeline that they found with the MAGA election and sovereignty and the flag and all that. They really struck gold with that. And the Conservatives totally failed at rallying around the patriotism, which is weird to say. But the Liberals, this conservative liberal aura has swindled Canadians into thinking that somehow this will change their lives. But crises will always come, as we have discussed. Capitalism always has crises that's built in, called the business cycle for those of you in business. But yeah, that was a good little, I guess, interview question taking. What else is going on here in the news today? Guess we could do Tim Hortons. The food professor. Guess we can watch Doug Ford freak out about homeless camps for about 5 minutes, because conservatives in Canada love killing the homeless. They love killing the homeless. They say, look, homeless, you have a drug problem. No more safety for you. We're going to let you just overdose and die in your home. Okay. No more support systems. No more places to go. We're cutting all that shit. Just go OD and we'll deal with your dead body.
A court decision in Kitchener to allow a homeless encampment that is in the way of a construction project to continue to be in there is ridiculous, and that this shouldn't happen. Yeah, but you could take this matter on your own hands if you were willing to pass legislation invoking the notwithstanding clause to clear the encampments. So what happened to that? Are you going to do this? Yes or no?
So this judge, she slipped off the cracker with this guy. Okay, and I have the utmost
slipped off the cracker
for judges and the courts. Let me qualify that. But when you get some crazy decision that I've had lawyers, I've had mayors from other cities call me. I've had the existing mayors within Waterloo Region, the chair calling me. And so, folks, this is what it was. I'm going to just cut to the chase. There's roughly 30 homeless people that want to encamp in the middle of a transit bill that will be spending hundreds of millions of dollars building a GO train expansion and all sorts of development and thousands of new homes. And we're letting 30 people trump millions and millions of transit riders and thousands of people that want homes. And the judge is saying, well, they just have to stay there. You can't move them. You've got to be kidding. Like, you've got to be kidding. This is the reason they put in a notwithstanding clause, Section 33 of the Constitution, because you get these judges that just, I'm sorry, the guy's a few fries short of a Happy Meal and he just doesn't get
what
it.
The
He's
fuck?
Just ridiculous.
What is Doug Ford on? I love these quotes. What was that? That was a good one. I gotta keep that one.
Decisions. They're not accountable to anyone. I'm accountable to every single person. Everyone in this province is accountable to someone. But guess
Yeah, okay, you're accountable for everyone in the province except those 30 homeless people who you just seem to not care about at all. You're accountable to everyone except for these struggling homeless people who you just want to run over for these corporate bourgeois billionaires.
who's not accountable? These lifelong judges that can't be touched. No one can touch them. They can come up with radical decisions that is totally against what the people want. Over 30 people, and I've talked to businesses, they're being harassed by these homeless people every single day. They have to lock their doors during the day because they'll come in and try to take something. You know, last homeless place I went up to Barrie, there's a guy with $12,000. There was 2 dead bodies. There had feces and urinating everywhere, and there was rat-infested place. And the mayor got up there and cleared them out. This is a health issue, and you know something.
I love this. I love that he's like, look at all these homeless people in Ontario, where the place that I'm supporting them. You know, all these dirty, homeless, like, this is how he talks about his constituents, by the way. He's like, I have to take care of everyone in my province. These dirty, disgusting, homeless, fucking violent criminals. These fucking, like, could you not be any less empathetic or any, yeah, like, are you serious? Like, it's just a crazy thing to say one thing, like, oh, everyone in my province I care about. And then there's like, the homeless people in his province, the most struggling people in his province. He's like, they're disgusting. They're trying to feed themselves, stealing food. They can't sleep anywhere. Like, that's a crazy take.
We're putting billions of dollars in for homelessness, but you can't let 30 people decide for millions and millions of people. Another crazy decision by the courts. We're going to deal with it. Hopefully the region's going to appeal it. We'll intervene, and then stay tuned, because that's the reason they have Section 33 notwithstanding clause, because of crazy decisions like this one.
Right.
Someone,
Can you just clarify if you're going to pass this legislation to use
let's just see. Let's go through the proper process. I'm going to give the courts another shot here. We're going to appeal it. Right? Hopefully the region's going to appeal it. We'll be there with them.
Is this
and then if they come up with another radical decision, that's the reason many premiers, well before me, when they're putting the making changes to the Constitution, this is.
I like this because this is one of the bullshit reasons of the notwithstanding clause, because the notwithstanding clause is to fuck over your rights, right? Your constitutional rights. Like, it's there to fuck you. It's there for the government to go, no more rights for you. No more. Okay. So if he loves freedom and all this shit, he should be for the rights, right? Not like, oh, I don't like this. This is a radical decision according to me, so I'm going to abuse the constitutional cheat code and just do whatever I want.
Is one of the ones they demanded to be in there. So this isn't the first crazy decision. It won't be the last one. And speaking of decisions, I'm waiting for the bike lanes. We've been fiddling around with this thing.
Goddamn bike lanes aren't being built.
I know. I caught myself there. But come on, make a decision. One way or another, then I can make a decision.
Just to be clear, Premier, are you like, so if you lose the appeal, are you going to...
Okay, I don't care about it. These Canadian reporters are so shit, man. They just ask the same question over and over and over again. Is that every reporter? Like, geez. It seems like Canadians are garbage at asking questions. Someone get some people in there to ask some real questions. My goodness. Is there any events going on Twitch? What's going on Twitch today? Anything esports? Any events popping? Subnautica 2. I wish I had money to buy new games, bro. What if does any Twitch streamer just watch other streams? Is that a thing? Is that content reacting just to other people's streams? Anyway, it's been about 3 hours of just reacting content, and I mean there's been a lot of breaks in there, but a lot of chatting content. We're gonna do this last thing, I think, and then maybe we'll get to some retro rewind. I want to do a big retro day. Okay. Does this have a YouTube story? It has to, right? All right, cool, sure. All right. Tim Hortons to hire 10,000 local workers, cuts back on foreign program. The coffee chain's parent company announced it will reduce reliance on the temporary foreign worker program, which currently covers just 4,000 roles or 3.6% of 110,000 staff, down 50% from 2024. This support plans for 80 new stores and 400 renovations by 2027, with nationwide job fairs targeting youth who make up 45% of the workforce face a 14.3% unemployment rate. While some praise the shift as a boost for locals, others call it too late amid boycott calls and competition from Dunkin' entering Canada. I mean, this is definitely an appeasement play from Tim Hortons, just to be like, look at us, we love Canadians too, we're gonna hire Canadians, just like those crazy people on fucking X say we should. Little did they know Canadians are also minorities, and that it's not going to change any of these people's minds when they walk into Tim Hortons and see a brown person. They're just going to assume it's a fucking foreigner. Like, it's not, it like, what are you gonna, you can't do anything about that, about when you're Tim Hortons. Well, I thought there were no Canadians available to work. You mean Tim's has been hiring temporary foreign workers when there were locals to hire all along? Oh my god. This has got 3.4 thousand likes. That's great. Yeah, unemployment, people have to learn that unemployment is a part of capitalism. You need a steady, huge amount. What did Marx call it? The labor force, the workforce of the unemployed? The war, the soldiers of the unemployed? What is that quote? Because it's amazing. The industrial reserve army of the unemployed, basically. Yeah. It's an industrial reserve army of unemployed. But basically, you need a large group of unemployed to drive wages down, right? Without that, you know, we don't want to pay high wages if I'm a capitalist. I need a large labor pool of desperate workers in need of work, you know, because when I get rid of my temporary foreign workers, I'm going to need people to take their jobs right away, you know? Do not trust the liars at Tim Hortons or this PR whitewash by the Globe. Tim Hortons will continue to hire foreign students. The identical problem, just with a different name. Never trust Tim Hortons, never trust the Globe. This is the same thing I just said. People walk in like to a Tim Hortons, see brown people, and then they just get mad. Tim Hortons can't appease racists like Ezra. Where is this motherfucker? There we go. Great take from me, as always. Just some of these other people are saying. Too little, too late. Now that they see that we are disgusted with their foreigner hiring practices, ignoring the Canadian youth. Also, we're talking about 3% of their workforce, by the way. And Dunkin' Donuts coming back. They're worried about profits. That's the only reason they're doing this. I mean, true. They are doing it for profits. Like, see, like the thing is, the capitalists in Toronto, what am I talking about? In Tim Hortons, wherever he is, the board of Tim Hortons, the capital owners of Tim Hortons were like, we have to appease these people to get them to be on our side again so they won't hate us. And then when they do a move like this, everyone's like, oh, look at them trying to sway us, control us, and, you know, like manipulate us. So it doesn't really, it kind of backfires when all these crazies are like, because they all should be celebrating, yay, more Canadians being hired, but instead they all just make excuses and fucking you know, still rage bait and still cry bully, right? Like Tim Hortons isn't gonna win. It's fine. I don't give a fuck about Tim Hortons, but
Well.
Oh.
Tim Hortons to dial back the use of the temporary foreign worker program, aiming to hire 10,000 locally. And if you don't recall, Tim Hortons is one of the biggest users of the temporary foreign worker program. They even lobbied the federal government to expand it, which they're now going to say they're stopping. They're saying they're going to hire locally because they're expanding hundreds more locations across the country. All these words doesn't change the fact that your coffee is shit, your food is shit, and the way that you've operated your business and treated this country using the face of Canada, the meaning of Canada, to help market your coffee and your brand while shitting on the youth of this country, hiring all these temporary foreign workers. All of a sudden, now you can hire 10,000 people locally when before you couldn't? Give me a goddamn break. We know why you did it, because you were using modern day slave labor to help decrease your cost of labor to make more money. That's what it is. Okay, just say it out loud. That's what you did.
But the thing is, that's good for capital. That's market efficiency. That's what these right-wingers like. That's the profit incentive. That's the profit motive at play. But these right-wingers, they love markets. They love their freedom, their free markets, but they don't realize that this is a reason, this is a consequence of it. And also, it makes foreigners and domestic laborers fight a battle within themselves instead of being a fucking working class battle, instead of fighting amongst each other, fight against the fucking capitalists, fight against the owners together. But yeah, it's like people are going to see through it when there's unemployment all around the country, and people and Tim Hortons and other companies still want to cut costs like this, right? So of course people are going to be upset, but the racist part and blaming it on the immigrants is the part where you lose me. It's like, it's not the fucking immigrants' fault. It's not the immigrants.
I am very hopeful Dunkin' Donuts comes to this country. They're coming very soon in Canada. They hire locally.
Why would they hire locally if the incentive is just to use the foreign worker program?
Put you guys out of business with a better product and with actually treating the local population with respect.
That's crazy. Why would they? Because there's no incentive for them to not to use the temporary foreign worker program. Fuck Tim Hortons. The food and service is shit. The prices are too high, and there are too many fucking Indians. See, that's basically Canada in a nutshell. Like, you're just like, people are just going to see brown people working at Tim Hortons and get upset. Like, it doesn't solve anything for Tim Hortons. Doesn't make this go away. Oh yeah. The problem is local isn't local. Like, yeah, like, you can't appease the racists because, yeah, like I said, people just see brown people and then get upset. They see minorities and then get upset. Just judge, prejudice, pre-bias, and fucking just assume all these things about, you know, people they've never met based off of radical fucking Fox News, racist X drip feeding into your brain 24/7. But that's interesting. I don't need to watch any more of that. But that was Tim Hortons. Don't think the X boycott's going away anytime soon. It's still fucking cheap, man. Like Tim Hortons is still fucking $8 for a fucking sandwich, large coffee, and a hash brown for $8. Like, you're not getting that anywhere else. Maybe Dunkin'. I don't know. I've never been, but like Starbucks, a sandwich and a coffee is like $15, $13. So yeah. Anyway, we're gonna take a break, and I think we're gonna get into Retro Rewind. So grab a snack, grab popcorn, and I'll BRB.